Human scavenger discovers 5349-year-old alien wreck for $10 and becomes the galaxy's supreme leader. Elias Tran lived a life most people would call ordinary, but he himself knew it was anything but exciting. His home was not a house or an apartment, but a small, rusty section of a space station that orbited a forgotten planet on the edge of the galaxy. The station had once been bustling, full of merchants, traders, and travelers, but now it creaked and groaned under the weight of years of neglect. Lights flickered unpredictably, airlocks hissed with every opening and closing, and the smell of recycled air mixed with burnt wires was ever present. Yet Elias had grown used to this life. For him, it was home. Elias had always been a scavenger. From the earliest age, he had learned to find value in what others discarded. While others sought comfort and safety, he thrived in chaos, seeing potential where others only saw scrap. Starship panels, broken tools, old gadgets, and even random pieces of alien technology littered the station's storage bays. Most people avoided these relics, but to Elias, each piece told a story, waiting to be understood or sold. Sometimes, for a single credit, a rusty gear or a cracked panel could buy him a meal. Other times, he would trade a tiny, forgotten device for parts he could repair and sell at a higher price. It was a slow life, but it was all he knew, and he had learned to survive. Elias was a short man, wiry and quick, with hands that were constantly smudged with oil and grime. His hair was dark and tangled, often sticking out in odd directions after long hours spent crawling through debris. His face bore the marks of a harsh life, small cuts, faded scars, and eyes that always seemed to be searching for something new. Despite all this, he had an uncanny sense of curiosity and an unshakable optimism. Most scavengers grew bitter, greedy, or suspicious, but Elias remained different. He believed that one day, a discovery would change everything. That day seemed far away as he moved through the station's lower decks. The hum of machinery, the occasional clang of falling metal, and the distant chatter of other scavengers formed the background of his world. These lower decks were dangerous. Broken conveyor belts, dangling cables, and unstable floors made every step a risk. One false move, and Elias could fall into a pit or be crushed by falling scrap. But he walked with confidence, navigating the chaos with ease. Elias often spent hours examining the junkyards, sometimes finding small treasures hidden under heaps of metal. It could be an old power cell that still held energy, a communication device from a forgotten colony, or even a strange fragment of alien tech no one else dared to touch. Most scavengers avoided these alien remnants, fearing the unknown, but Elias was different. He saw them as opportunities. The unknown fascinated him. On one particular morning, Elias woke to the same dim light filtering through the station's thick windows. He ate a simple breakfast, a packet of rehydrated protein cubes and a small cup of recycled water. He dressed quickly, grabbed his worn-out toolkit, and headed out into the maze of metal and debris. He had learned every nook and cranny of this station, every hidden corner where valuable items might be hidden. Yet despite his experience, Elias always treated each day like an adventure. As he walked through the storage bays, his eyes caught a faint shimmer beneath a pile of discarded metal sheets. At first, he thought it was just a reflection, perhaps sunlight bouncing off a broken panel. But something about it made him stop. He crouched down, brushing aside the sheets with cautious hands. Beneath them lay a piece of metal unlike anything he had seen before. It was smooth, almost glowing, with faint patterns etched into its surface. Elias' heart quickened. He had found alien relics before, but this seemed different, older, more intricate, almost alive. He carefully pulled it out and examined it. The pattern seemed to move subtly when he shifted his perspective. It was not just a fragment, it was part of something larger, something that had been lost for centuries. Elias felt a thrill he had never experienced before. He had always dreamed of finding something extraordinary, something that would change his life, and now it was right before him. But as always, excitement came with danger. Elias heard footsteps echoing from the other side of the storage bay. Rival scavengers, part of a gang that often preyed on weaker scavengers, were nearby. Their leader, a tall, menacing figure named Korvax, had a reputation for being ruthless. Elias had seen him take entire hauls from other scavengers without hesitation. If they saw what he had found, it would be gone in seconds. Or worse, they might hurt him. Thinking quickly, Elias hid the fragment under his jacket and stepped back, pretending to be searching through a pile of scrap. Korvax's gang passed by, laughing and arguing about some trivial matter. Elias held his breath until the sound of their footsteps faded. Only then did he exhale and allow himself a small smile. The fragment was safe, for now. Elias knew he could not take it to the main market on the station. Too many eyes, too many risks. He needed a plan. He decided to buy the rest of whatever this piece belonged to, hoping that no one else would notice. With a deep breath, he made his way to the small trade post where scavengers exchanged goods. He had saved almost all of his earnings, totaling only 10 credits, barely enough for a decent meal or a few small tools. But sometimes, 10 credits could be all the difference between survival and discovery. He approached the old vendor, a wiry alien with multiple eyes and a habit of muttering to himself. The vendor looked up, eyeing Elias curiously. "Ah, Elias," he said in a voice like gravel. "Back for more scraps, I see." Elias smiled. "I found something interesting," he replied carefully, pulling out a few other small items to trade. "I want to buy that old ship over there, the one no one's paying attention to." The vendor squinted, then shrugged. "It's yours for 10 credits. I don't know why anyone would want it. Rusted, broken, probably dangerous." Elias handed over the credits without hesitation. He had a feeling this wasn't just a broken ship. Something about it called to him, a whisper from the past, a promise of adventure. With the purchase complete, he carefully maneuvered the wreck out of the trade post, feeling a sense of anticipation he hadn't felt in years. He returned to his section of the station, dragging the small wreck behind him. It was heavy and awkward, but Elias managed to fit it into his workspace. He examined it from all angles, brushing off layers of dust and grime. It was covered in strange markings, symbols he had never seen before. Panels that should have been broken or missing were intact, glowing faintly as if powered by some ancient energy. Elias felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had always been careful with alien artifacts, knowing their potential danger. But he also knew that this was what he had been waiting for his entire life. With trembling hands, he pressed a small button on the wreck. To his astonishment, lights flickered on and a holographic interface appeared. Ancient text, almost incomprehensible, filled the air. He realized this ship had been dormant for thousands of years, waiting for someone curious and brave enough to awaken it. Hours passed as Elias studied the wreck, his mind racing with possibilities. He imagined traveling to distant galaxies, discovering civilizations long forgotten, and holding knowledge that no human had seen in millennia. For the first time in his life, he felt that ordinary life might finally give way to something extraordinary. By the time the artificial lights dimmed in the station, Elias had already begun to map out a plan. He would learn everything he could about this wreck, piece by piece. He would study the symbols, the technology, and any hidden compartments. He knew it would be dangerous. There were always risks in dealing with alien technology, but the promise of discovery outweighed the fear. As he settled down to rest, Elias allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He thought about how far he had come, from a small scavenger surviving on scraps to someone on the verge of uncovering a secret that could change the course of history. He smiled to himself, imagining the adventures that lay ahead. Little did Elias know, the discovery he had made was just the beginning. The wreck he had purchased for 10 credits was no ordinary relic. It was a 5,349-year-old alien ship, holding secrets and power beyond imagination. And for Elias Tran, life as a simple scavenger had just ended. The galaxy, vast and full of mysteries, was about to take notice of one very small human, and that human's life would never be the same again. Elias Tran woke before the station's lights flickered on. Sleep had barely touched him, and his mind was still racing from the discovery of the alien wreck. The small ship he had bought for 10 credits was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its glowing panels, moving symbols, and faint hum of energy seemed alive, almost as if it were aware of his presence. Elias couldn't shake the feeling that it was waiting for him to explore its secrets. He sat at his workbench, tools spread around him, and studied the ship closely. Its outer shell was smooth, metallic, and surprisingly intact. There were strange markings etched across its surface. They weren't like any human language. Some seemed to shift and change when he looked away. The lights embedded in the hull pulsed gently, like the heartbeat of a living creature. Elias traced his fingers over the patterns, feeling a warmth that seemed to respond to his touch. For hours, he examined the wreck. He discovered panels that opened with a soft press, revealing small compartments filled with unknown devices. Some contained glowing crystals, others small cylinders of metal that hummed faintly. Elias realized these were not ordinary materials. They were clearly alien, thousands of years old, and yet still functional. He felt a mix of awe and disbelief. How could something this old still work? Who had built it? And why had it been abandoned here? Elias decided to try activating more of the ship's systems. He pressed a sequence of buttons on a control panel, unsure of what would happen. The ship's interior lights flickered on, revealing a small cabin with strange seats, floating screens, and a control console that seemed to respond to his every touch. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed in the cabin. "Greetings, traveler," it said. Elias jumped back, startled. The voice was calm, clear, and unmistakably intelligent. "I am the ship's AI. I have been waiting for someone to awaken me." Elias stared, speechless. He had read about artificial intelligence before, but he had never interacted with one, let alone one this old and sophisticated. You can talk?" he stammered. "Yes," the AI replied. "I have existed for 5,349 years. My purpose is to navigate the galaxy, preserve knowledge, and protect those who are worthy. You have awakened me. I will assist you." Elias felt a shiver of excitement run down his spine. This was more than he had ever dreamed of. He was not just a scavenger who had found an old wreck. He had discovered a living archive of alien knowledge and technology. The possibilities seemed endless. Over the next few days, Elias devoted himself entirely to the ship. He learned how to activate its navigation systems, access its data logs, and interface with the AI. The ship revealed maps of distant star systems, ancient civilizations, and forgotten colonies. Some of the technology was beyond anything humans had achieved. Energy shields, self-repairing engines, and advanced sensors filled the ship's schematics. Elias realized that if he could understand even a fraction of it, his life, and the lives of others, would change forever. But knowledge came with challenges. The ship's controls were complicated, designed for beings far more advanced than humans. Elias spent hours experimenting, often failing, sometimes causing small sparks or minor system glitches. The AI, patient and calm, guided him through each mistake. "Try this sequence," it would say, or "the pattern is slightly different than you expect. Adjust accordingly." Elias learned quickly, adapting his human intuition to the alien logic. Each small success fueled his excitement and confidence. One afternoon, while examining a set of alien logs, Elias discovered something remarkable. The ship had belonged to an ancient civilization that had once ruled a large portion of the galaxy. The civilization had been peaceful, curious, and highly intelligent. They explored, traded knowledge, and recorded their discoveries in ships like this one. But something had happened thousands of years ago. The logs were fragmented, but they hinted at a great conflict, a mysterious disappearance, and a galaxy-wide secret hidden in the stars. Elias' mind raced with questions. Could he find out what had happened? Could he use this knowledge to explore the galaxy? And could it help him rise beyond his life as a scavenger? He felt a thrill he had never known before. For the first time, he felt that he was part of something far bigger than himself. As Elias delved deeper into the ship's systems, he also discovered small, personal records left by the ship's original pilots. Holographic images appeared, showing beings with elongated limbs, bright eyes, and advanced suits. They spoke of wonder, curiosity, and the joy of discovery. Elias felt a strange connection to them, as if their excitement and bravery had somehow passed through time to him. The AI explained that these pilots had chosen a few individuals to inherit their knowledge if the galaxy fell into decay. Somehow, Elias' presence had triggered the ship's activation, marking him as a worthy inheritor. The days turned into weeks. Elias barely left the ship's small cabin. He scavenged only for essentials, trading a few minor items to get food and water, while his mind remained consumed by the mysteries of the wreck. He learned to read the alien symbols, understanding patterns in energy flows, navigation protocols, and even basic alien engineering. The AI became his constant companion, teaching him not just about technology, but about strategy, observation, and thinking beyond human limitations. But the more he learned, the more he realized the risks. word of a strange, powerful wreck was beginning to spread. Rival scavengers and opportunists had noticed changes in the station. Some whispered rumors of a human who had found alien treasure. Others spoke of lights and noises coming from his section of the station. Elias knew he needed to be careful. The galaxy was not always kind to those who discovered something extraordinary. One night, as he worked late, he noticed unusual activity near the station's perimeter. Small scout drones, unfamiliar in design, circled the station at a distance. The AI detected them immediately. "These are not ordinary scavengers," it said. "They are seeking something valuable. You must hide your discovery." Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. He quickly covered the ship with a tarp and set up false equipment nearby, making it look like he was working on minor repairs. The drones scanned the area but eventually moved on, failing to detect the wreck beneath the cover. Elias let out a long breath, realizing just how fragile his position had become. The galaxy might be vast, but someone was already hunting him, even without knowing the full extent of his discovery. Despite the dangers, Elias felt a growing sense of purpose. He was no longer just a scavenger scraping by. He was the keeper of knowledge, a human entrusted with secrets that had been lost for millennia. The ship was not just a tool. It was a key to exploring the galaxy, understanding its mysteries, and perhaps even shaping its future. One morning, Elias decided to venture outside the station for the first time since discovering the ship. He had repaired a small portion of the alien engines enough to move the wreck slightly, and he wanted to test its capabilities. Carefully, he activated the ship's propulsion system. It responded instantly, floating smoothly above the station's floor, moving silently and precisely. Elias felt a thrill he had never experienced. He was piloting a piece of history, a vessel built thousands of years before humans had reached even the outer planets. The AI guided him through basic maneuvers. "You are doing well," it said. "Your instincts are improving. Soon you will be ready for greater challenges." Elias smiled, feeling a bond with the ship that went beyond utility. It was alive in its own way, and it had chosen him. As days passed, Elias continued to explore the wreck's secrets. He found hidden storage bays filled with alien tools, maps, and energy sources. Some of these tools could repair ships instantly, others could detect distant star systems. Every discovery brought him closer to understanding the galaxy as it had existed thousands of years ago. And then came a moment that changed everything. While activating a navigation panel, Elias accidentally triggered a hidden holographic map. It expanded across the cabin, showing the galaxy in incredible detail. Red markers indicated unknown worlds, some inhabited, some abandoned. Blue markers suggested locations of ancient technology, possibly hidden across thousands of light years. Elias realized that the ship was more than a vessel. It was a guide, capable of leading him to places humans had never reached. He spent hours studying the map, plotting potential destinations, imagining the adventures that awaited. For the first time, the vast emptiness of space felt like a playground full of possibilities rather than a distant, unreachable void. Elias felt alive in a way he had never known, and he knew that nothing could ever return him to the ordinary life he had lived before. Even in the quiet moments, the ship seemed to hum with anticipation, as if encouraging him to continue. Elias realized that the AI, the ship, and even the legacy of the ancient pilots were all connected. They had chosen him not by chance, but because of his courage, curiosity, and willingness to explore. By the end of the second week, Elias made a decision. He would leave the station and explore the galaxy. He would follow the map, uncover hidden civilizations, and perhaps even solve the mystery of what had happened to the ancient pilots. But he also knew the risks were greater than ever. Many would want the ship, the knowledge, or the power it represented. He would need to be clever, cautious, and determined. Yet for Elias Tran, fear was no longer the driving force. Curiosity, excitement, and the promise of adventure had taken over. He had discovered a 5,349-year-old alien ship for 10 credits, and in doing so, had opened a door to the galaxy itself. The ordinary life he had known was gone, replaced by a journey that would test his courage, intelligence, and heart in ways he could never have imagined. And so, with the hum of the ship beneath his hands, the glow of ancient lights filling the cabin, and the AI whispering guidance, Elias prepared for the first step of a journey that would not only change his life, but perhaps the fate of the entire galaxy. Tran's life had changed completely. No longer confined to a rusty space station, he now commanded a 5,349-year-old alien ship, guided by an intelligence far older and wiser than any human. For the first time in his life, he felt both excitement and responsibility. The galaxy was vast, filled with stars, planets, and secrets waiting to be discovered, and he held a key to unlocking them all. The first task was to leave the station safely. The AI warned him that the area was no longer secure. Rival scavengers and curious traders had started noticing unusual activity around his section of the station. If they discovered the ship, it could be lost, or worse, stolen. Ilias carefully prepared for departure, making sure the ship was fully powered and that the ancient navigation systems were functioning properly. As the ship lifted from the station, smooth and silent, Ilias looked down at the spinning lights of the orbiting world below. He felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. His journey had begun. The ship's AI spoke softly. "You are ready, Ilias, but remember the galaxy is full of both wonder and danger. Knowledge and patience will guide you." The first few days in open space were both thrilling and challenging. Ilias navigated through asteroid fields, dodging floating debris and small meteorites. The ship's shields, far more advanced than anything humans had built, protected him, but he quickly realized that skillful maneuvering was necessary. Every twist and turn through the asteroids tested his reflexes and patience. The AI guided him at every step, teaching him the principles of alien navigation and energy management. Ilias soon began experimenting with the ship's other functions. The vessel had engines that could bend space slightly, allowing faster-than-light travel over short distances. It had scanners capable of detecting hidden worlds, abandoned stations, and even traces of life forms long gone. Ilias marveled at the technology. Every button he pressed, every screen he activated revealed something new and astonishing. For a simple scavenger who had once traded scrap metal for food, this was beyond imagination. On the fifth day, while scanning a distant star system, Ilias discovered a planet marked in red on the holographic map. The AI explained that this was a location where ancient civilizations had once built a small colony. The planet appeared to be abandoned now, but the energy readings suggested that some technology still remained. Ilias felt a surge of excitement. This was exactly the kind of discovery he had dreamed of. He prepared to descend to the planet, carefully entering its atmosphere. The alien ship adjusted automatically, its sensors analyzing wind currents, temperature, and potential hazards. Ilias watched the planet grow larger in the viewport. Mountains, rivers, and strange forests filled the landscape. It was beautiful, untouched by modern human influence, yet filled with hints of ancient habitation. Landing was smooth, almost effortless. Ilias stepped out of the ship and onto solid ground, his boots sinking slightly into soft soil. The air was breathable but tinged with an unfamiliar chemical scent. The AI projected a small energy field around him for protection, not because the planet was dangerous, but to maintain his safety as he explored. The planet was quiet. Trees towered above him, their leaves shimmering slightly as if reflecting light in unusual ways. Ilias moved carefully, following the energy readings the ship had detected. Soon, he came upon the ruins of a settlement, small domed structures made of a translucent metal, now partially corroded. Panels with glowing symbols lay scattered on the ground. Ilias picked one up and marveled at the intricate patterns. The technology was advanced but harmonious with the natural world. It was clear that these beings had lived in peace and had cared for their surroundings. As he explored, Ilias found small devices that still hummed with energy. Some were tools, others seemed to store knowledge or maps of nearby star systems. The AI guided him, explaining each function and teaching him how to activate the devices safely. Ilias felt a rush of learning unlike anything he had experienced before. Every discovery made him more confident, more capable, and more aware of the responsibility he carried. However, exploration was not without challenges. While moving through the ruins, Ilias noticed signs of natural hazards, shifting ground, sudden energy surges, and minor seismic tremors. The planet had been abandoned for thousands of years, and its systems were unstable. One wrong step could trigger a collapse or an energy discharge. Ilias learned to move carefully, to read the land, and to trust the AI's guidance. During one particularly tense moment, Elias discovered a chamber partially buried under the ruins. He cleared debris and found a control panel, still glowing faintly. Curiosity overcame caution, and he pressed a button. Instantly, a holographic map projected into the air, showing not just the planet but nearby star systems, ancient trade routes, and hidden stations. The AI explained that this chamber had been a navigation hub for the civilization. Elias felt a thrill. He was uncovering secrets lost for over 5,000 years. Over the next several weeks, Elias explored more of the planet, documenting what he found. Every discovery increased his knowledge and skill. The AI guided him in learning alien science, engineering, and even diplomacy, as the records suggested ways these civilizations had interacted peacefully with others. Elias realized that he was not just learning technology, he was learning an entirely new way to think, to plan, and to influence the galaxy. Word of his discoveries, however, began to spread in subtle ways. Other scavengers had noticed unusual energy readings from the planet. Traders who passed through nearby systems reported strange activity. While no one knew the full truth, Elias could sense the attention. The AI warned him, "Those who seek power may come for what you have found. Be cautious. Not all curiosity is harmless." Despite the warnings, Elias knew he had to continue. The planet held secrets that could change understanding of history, technology, and strategy. He found devices capable of storing massive amounts of information, energy sources that could power entire colonies, and tools that could repair or enhance ships. He realized that if he used this knowledge wisely, he could become far more than a scavenger. He could become a force capable of shaping events across the galaxy. As he prepared to leave the planet, Elias tested the ship's long-range capabilities. The vessel responded smoothly, calculating paths, avoiding hazards, and keeping them hidden from distant sensors. Elias realized that he now had mobility, knowledge, and strategy combined. The galaxy was vast, but he could reach any corner, find hidden resources, and remain undetected if necessary. One day, while navigating through an uncharted asteroid field, Elias encountered another ship. Unlike the abandoned wrecks he had seen before, this one was active, sleek, and clearly manned by beings who were aware of his presence. They hailed him, asking his identity and intentions. Elias, guided by the AI, responded calmly. Using his newfound understanding of diplomacy and alien technology, he projected confidence and knowledge far beyond his years as a scavenger. The other ship, sensing his capabilities, chose not to attack. Instead, they offered cautious respect, opening the door for Elias to form alliances in the future. This encounter taught Elias an important lesson. Knowledge alone was powerful, but strategy, communication, and timing were equally important. The AI emphasized this repeatedly. True influence is earned not only by strength or technology, but by understanding, patience, and action at the right moment. Elias absorbed this wisdom, knowing that he was on a path that could lead to something much greater than survival or wealth. Over time, Elias began to notice changes within himself. He was no longer the scavenger who had wandered dusty station decks for 10 credits. He thought strategically, planned carefully, and acted with purpose. His confidence grew, but so did his humility. He understood that the galaxy was vast, and that his knowledge, while powerful, was only a fraction of what the universe held. Each discovery reminded him that learning, patience, and curiosity were as important as any weapon or device. By the end of Part 3, Elias had completed his first major journey beyond the station. He had explored an ancient planet, uncovered lost technology, and demonstrated skill in diplomacy. He had seen both the dangers and the wonders of the galaxy. Most importantly, he had begun to understand his potential. The AI encouraged him, reminding him that these were only the first steps. Greater challenges, greater discoveries, and greater opportunities awaited him. Elias Tran, the scavenger who had once traded scraps for 10 credits, was no longer ordinary. He was becoming a navigator, a strategist, and a human capable of influencing the fate of worlds. The galaxy was vast, and he was ready to take the next step. Every planet, every star, and every secret he uncovered would teach him more about the universe, and about himself. With the alien ship beneath his hands, the AI whispering guidance, and the stars stretching endlessly before him, Elias prepared for the next stage of his journey. He was not just exploring the galaxy. He was learning how to lead it. Elias Tran had traveled farther than he had ever imagined. The galaxy, once a distant dream, now lay before him, vast, beautiful, and full of mysteries. He had discovered ancient planets, uncovered lost technologies, and learned secrets that had been hidden for over 5,000 years. Yet he knew that discovery alone was not enough. Knowledge was power only if used wisely. If he wanted to change the galaxy, he would need strategy, leadership, and courage. The AI reminded him of this constantly. Elias, it said one quiet moment, knowledge without action is wasted. The galaxy needs direction, and you are capable of providing it. Elias understood. He had learned about diplomacy, strategy, and alien technology. Now it was time to put these lessons into practice. His first opportunity came unexpectedly. While traveling through a dense star cluster, Elias detected a small system in turmoil. Two neighboring planets were in conflict over resources, and their fleets were preparing for confrontation. Both sides were technologically advanced, but lacked the strategic vision to resolve their disputes without destruction. Elias saw a chance not only to help, but to demonstrate his abilities. He approached the system carefully, keeping his ship hidden until he understood the situation. Using the AI's guidance, he projected holographic messages to both planetary leaders, offering to mediate and provide solutions using knowledge from the ancient civilizations he had studied. At first, both sides were skeptical. A single human, especially one unknown to them, could not possibly be trusted. Elias remained calm. He presented detailed plans showing how resources could be shared, how infrastructure could be repaired, and how conflicts could be avoided in the future. The AI translated complex alien technology into simple, practical steps that the leaders could understand. Slowly, both sides began to listen. Tensions eased as they realized that Elias' plans were fair, practical, and mutually beneficial. By the end of the negotiations, the two planets had agreed to a truce. Elias had not only prevented conflict, but also gained the trust of leaders who could influence thousands, even millions of lives. It was the first time he truly felt the weight of leadership. The galaxy was not just about exploration. It was about guiding civilizations, making decisions, and ensuring that power was used wisely. Word of Elias' success spread quickly. Other systems, hearing of the human who had resolved conflicts where others had failed, began reaching out for assistance. Traders, scholars, and minor leaders sought his guidance. Elias realized that with the AI and the ship's knowledge, he could unite factions, share technology, and create networks of trust across the galaxy. He was no longer just an explorer, he was becoming a leader. Yet leadership was not without challenges. Some factions viewed him with suspicion, seeing a single human gaining influence as a threat. Elias encountered sabotage, misinformation, and attempts to undermine his work. But each challenge taught him more about strategy, human and alien, behavior, and the importance of patience. He learned that leadership required not only knowledge, but also diplomacy, timing, and foresight. The AI became more than a guide, it became a partner. Together, they designed systems for communication, resource sharing, and governance that could span light years. Elias began establishing alliances between planets that had never interacted before. He introduced technologies that improved lives, repaired infrastructure, and promoted education and exploration. Slowly, he was building a network of loyal civilizations who trusted him and respected his vision. During one critical mission, Elias encountered a fleet of mercenaries hired by a faction opposed to his growing influence. They were well-armed, experienced, and confident in their ability to take him by surprise. Elias remained calm. The AI calculated strategies based on speed, positioning, and technology. Using advanced maneuvers and alien technology, Elias avoided direct confrontation, outsmarting the fleet and creating an opportunity for negotiation. Instead of fighting, Elias communicated directly with the leaders of the mercenaries. He demonstrated that cooperation and shared knowledge were more profitable than conflict. Impressed by his intelligence and fairness, the mercenaries agreed to join his coalition, becoming allies rather than enemies. This moment solidified Elias' reputation as a leader who could turn potential threats into opportunities. As months passed, Elias' influence grew. He traveled to multiple star systems, solving disputes, introducing ancient technologies, and guiding civilizations toward peaceful coexistence. Leaders began to seek his advice on matters of trade, exploration, and governance. He was no longer a human scavenger. He was a trusted strategist, a visionary, and a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Despite his growing power, Elias never forgot his humble beginnings. He remembered the rusty space station, the 10 credits he had spent on the alien wreck, and the countless hours spent studying, learning, and surviving. He kept a small reminder of his past on the ship, a simple metal gear from the station, worn and scratched. It reminded him that every achievement, no matter how great, began with small steps and careful choices. One day, Elias faced a decision that would define his legacy. An entire sector of the galaxy was in chaos, with multiple factions fighting over resources and territory. The potential for destruction was enormous. Elias realized that he could not simply mediate, he needed a more permanent solution. Drawing on his experience, the AI's guidance, and the knowledge of the ancient civilizations, he proposed a bold plan. A council of systems united under shared laws, resources, and mutual respect, with him serving as a coordinator to ensure fairness and stability. The leaders hesitated at first, unsure of granting such authority to a single human. Elias addressed their concerns with transparency and logic. He showed that the council would not concentrate power for personal gain, but rather distribute it fairly while promoting exploration, education, and prosperity. The AI assisted by projecting simulations of the council's success, demonstrating improved trade, security, and cultural growth across all member systems. After careful deliberation, the council agreed. Elias Tran, the scavenger who had purchased an ancient alien ship for 10 credits, became the de facto leader of a coalition of star systems. His authority was not absolute. It was based on trust, respect, and mutual benefit. Yet this position allowed him to implement changes, guide civilizations, and ensure that the galaxy remained stable while encouraging progress. With his leadership established, Elias turned his attention to long-term goals. He continued exploring, seeking out forgotten worlds, hidden knowledge, and ancient technologies that could benefit all civilizations. He trained others in strategy, diplomacy, and technology, creating a network of capable leaders who could continue his vision. The AI remained by his side, offering guidance and analysis, but Elias made decisions with wisdom and fairness, earning the respect of those he governed. Despite his success, Elias never lost the sense of wonder that had driven him from the beginning. Every new world, every hidden artifact, and every encounter with another civilization reminded him that the galaxy was full of mysteries waiting to be discovered. He approached leadership not as a burden, but as an opportunity to explore, learn, and inspire. Years passed, and Elias' influence solidified. The galaxy became more connected, peaceful, and prosperous. Civilizations that had once been isolated now traded knowledge, resources, and culture. Conflicts were resolved with diplomacy, and leaders sought Elias' guidance for difficult decisions. He became known not as a ruler in the traditional sense, but as a unifying force, a human who bridged the gap between past and present, technology and humanity, exploration and governance. Elias occasionally returned to the planets he had first explored. He walked among ruins, studied ancient artifacts, and reflected on the journey that had brought him here. The 10-credit purchase of a 5,349-year-old alien ship had been the first step in a journey that transformed him, the galaxy, and the lives of countless beings. He realized that adventure, curiosity, and courage could change the course of history if guided by wisdom and integrity. In quiet moments aboard his ship, Elias looked out at the stars, feeling a connection to the civilizations of the past, the lives he had touched, and the future he was helping to shape. The galaxy was vast, but he no longer felt small. He understood that leadership was not about power alone, but about responsibility, learning, and guiding others toward a better future. The AI, always calm and precise, spoke softly one evening. "You have grown beyond what I could have anticipated, Elias. You are no longer just a traveler or a scavenger. You are a guardian of knowledge, a unifier of civilizations, and a leader whose vision can guide the galaxy for generations." Elias smiled, humbled yet proud. "I am only the beginning," he replied. "The galaxy has much to teach, and I have much to learn. But together, we can ensure that knowledge, exploration, and cooperation will guide our future." And so, Elias Tran, the human scavenger who had once scraped for survival on a forgotten space station, became a guiding force across the galaxy. The alien ship he had purchased for 10 credits was not just a vessel. It was a key to discovery, a teacher, and a companion on a journey that reshaped the universe. From humble beginnings to a position of influence and respect, Elias proved that courage, curiosity, and wisdom could elevate anyone to greatness. The galaxy thrived under his guidance. Systems once isolated now cooperated. Technology from ancient civilizations was shared responsibly. Conflicts were resolved with diplomacy. And through it all, Elias never forgot the lessons of his past: patience, humility, and the importance of learning from every experience. Elias' story became a legend, a tale told across star systems about a human who had turned curiosity into leadership, a scavenger who became the galaxy's guiding light. And though he had achieved greatness, he remained, at heart, the same Elias Tran who had once spent 10 credits on a forgotten alien wreck, curious about what secrets it might hold. For him, the journey was never about power. It was about discovery, growth, and helping others reach their potential. And in the vast, sparkling expanse of the galaxy, Elias Tran found not only adventure, but purpose, legacy, and a future brighter than any star he had ever seen.